Hey folks, it's Kozzi again, doing the beginning of our next draft. I just finished the deck tech on the Ricano aggro deck, which was pretty sweet, and if you want to see it, hopefully there's a link that's popping up right now, assuming that I work out how to use YouTube. But for today, uh, who wants to wait on a draft? I managed to just squeak over the 5,000 gold, so let's crack into it and see what we happen to get. Okay, so this opening pack is not remotely as exciting as the last one I had. Valkyrie Wings is powerful but expensive, and you generally need to have stabilized in the game for it to be good. Minotaur Ambassador is okay if you happen to be having a lot of awakened students and other creatures that care about sigils coming into the battlefield. Wisdom of the Elders is okay. Mithril Mace is pretty nice. And other than that, I'm a little bit underwhelmed. I haven't ever used Unlock Potential before, so I might just take the opportunity to quickly look it up and see what the verdict is. So they reckon it's just a C+, which is fair enough. The Wings, C+. The Ambassador is about as rubbish as I thought it was. And so otherwise, we're really looking at the Mithril Mace or Wisdom of the Elders. Mace, they got a solid C, and Wisdom is a B-, so none of this is super exciting. I don't love finding myself in this color spectrum. I'm not the best control player in the world. And if I were to end up looking at going green, I think I'd generally prefer the Mace, but because I'm missing one, perhaps I could be tempted. Let's see where this goes. When in doubt, I'll take the rest so I have a chance to see what it does. This pack is a lot stronger. It's interesting that they've taken an uncommon and left the red rare. And to be honest, Shogun Scepter is very, very good. I'll quickly show you on the rankings because I feel as though using the RNG website is actually really a helpful tool to get the best out of what you can do. So here we got it right up in the A range. It's an exceptional card, and I 100% agree with them. We have a couple of other interesting cards to look at. We could consider the Life Drinker. Finest Hour is on color, although it's way too early to tell. All of these 3 drops, I'll be happy. In fact, I'd also be happy with the Coldblood Acolyte deck. See, this is a pretty amazing pack. I think the only cards that I wouldn't want to pick from it are those two at some stage in the draft. But that being said, I feel as though if we can get away with a Scepter deck, especially if we can look at running Ricano, then we're laughing. So let's take the Scepter and see how we go. Granted, we're going to be tough on the faction costs, but so be it. Wow, again, another very, very strong pack. Blind Storyteller, I think, is heavily, heavily underrated. I think it's a lot better than most people make it out to be. Card draw is everything in this game when one-on-one trades matter so much. And being able to get rid of your extra sigils for something more useful is really top shelf. Chieftain is very, very good, but it's asking for me to commit to extra colors. Likewise, if I wanted to go in that direction, they're great. I am a fan of Granite Acolyte, but I don't want to be taking it this early. But I could be tempted into going for my colors. I feel as though Seek Power is amazing, even if you're only in a solid 2-color deck. It allows you to make sure you find your sigils so you keep playing cards on curve. And if these were slightly weaker, it would be a dead set easy decision. But as it is, I think I'll just take the slightly challenging one. Okay. Well, in our last video, we saw how good Feeding Time is. It absolutely wrecked me. Beast Caller's Amulet is also very, very good if you have evasive creatures. Being able to just drop a 5/5 beast for 3 is no joke, but there is a risk involved. We had a lot of fun with our Lathrei Rangers, and it does work very, very well with red. I think for now, I just want to take the strongest card. It's way too early to be trying to get into a color line. And if that's the case, the strongest card that I can see is the premium removal. So we'll take that and we'll see what colors also continue to get passed through to us. This is beginning to look open. I'm seeing a bit of this coming through. I wouldn't be adverse to splashing blue. I am getting quite expensive cards though. Yeah, these are all good cards. So it really depends on what I think, where I want to go. The card that's most likely to win me the game, I think, is the Chieftain. And so I think for the time being I'm going to pick on potential rather than actuality. If that's the case, we're staying on green. I'm not a fan of Tinker Apprentice. In fact, I think the only card I like here is the Stalwart Shield, so that's a relatively simple call. And now things are beginning to dry up pretty aggressively. Emerald Acolyte could be interesting if I get some weapons. It makes it a lot more useful. Spirit Drain, not a fan of, so I guess we'll go there and see what comes. Happy to see a late Guerrilla Fighter. I feel as though it's good. Pyro Adept to fill out the curve, but I don't love it. Whilst the Velunc is better, I don't think I'm going to be playing purple. Playing time at all. Okay, so this is where we start to make some choices. Champion of Cunning is very, very strong. I don't need them, which is good, because otherwise I'd be tempted. I've been seeing relatively consistent green. My best cards don't have a lot of purple, but Annihilate is just premium removal. And the opportunity cost for taking it isn't huge. Whilst I like the Grenadin drone, I don't love it. So yeah, I think we take the removal and see which direction we get moved into. Again, more ranges, but the Quartermaster is a very, very powerful card. If we can start to get some pieces of equipment, it's a card draw engine and aggressive deck. I feel a little bit worried about building the same deck that I just finished with, but if it's what I get given, it's what I get given. Stash is the top end if we do happen to go in that direction. And now we have the opportunity to think about the Mace, the Cutthroat, and the Drone. So as it currently stands, if we're playing purple-red, missing out on the Pally, Quartermaster's good, Scepter's good, Feeding Time we could splash for. Yeah, it's definitely looking the way that we're heading. If that's the case, I think I prefer the Drone over the Cutthroat. Whilst the Cutthroat can get beefed up, if we happen to get anything that cares about sacrifices, then Drone is definitely going to be a useful card for us. Finest Hour does tempt me, but I feel as though going for the Cloud of Ash is probably best here. Like, Stormlynx is by far the strongest card in this pack, but we're not remotely looking at those colours. Another Chieftain is very, very nice. We've pretty much got the top of our curve looked after. We're seeing such good late green. I guess we'll contribute to that. Gilded Glaive is amazing, so now we need to really seriously think about our priorities here. Is it possible that purple is just a splash colour? So we just get one piece of purple and we still look at green-red. I'm not going to miss the ticking Granadon if I take something else, so for now we'll take the Glaive. Mark of Shame doesn't seem like a good card at all. In that way we can reassess our options as they come. I took it quickly, but the Granite Acolyte is the perfect card to go with Quartermaster and Smuggler's Stash, because the Iron Sword it creates is actually a weapon, and so it has a lot more value than what you think at first look. These guys are just rubbish. They're way too overpriced for what they are. Well, premium removal. The ability to splash blue is tempting, but I'd rather just take the straight removal. And I don't like my chances of seeing these later, but that tempo advantage is just too good. If we had more tokens, I'd seriously think about this, but as is, it's just going to be a case of Brazen Daredevil. If we're lucky and we get a couple of Warcry, she'll be able to get bigger and have more of an influence, otherwise we'll be relying on finding some weapons. Frontline Cyclops is really, really good. It's very hard for people to deal with a 6/6. I'm not too stacked on the top yet. Like, Blazing Renegade is never going to get played. Valkyrie Rings, it doesn't look like we're in green at all, so happy to take him. And now we get tempted. Now we really, really get tempted. I have Seek Power. If I can find myself a couple more strangers, then we're laughing. Although I'm stretched in a bunch of ways. What's my opportunity cost for taking it? A Recogulator, which is useful in what we're trying to build, although we don't really have the sack effects yet. Let's get greedy and see how we go. Nothing too exciting here at all. I guess we'll just take the 4-drop. And now we've got the first really interesting decision. The way that this game's going to play out, we're going to be hitting the ground hard and fast. We're praying for some kind of pump. As we run through, trading off resources and weapons until we get to our stash. So would we rather have the lifesteal that's effective on curve, or the ability to go above curve? I think it's the Thorn Beast. That way we can continue to build into it. The second Seek Power is very tempting, especially with all the flashes that we're looking at. I don't have enough sack effects to be tempted into a madness yet. And now we get absolutely everything we want in one pack. So, in the previous video I talked about how much I love Rampage. I think it's a very effective card, especially when you have any cards that care about getting in and doing damage for their effect. I don't currently have any of those. However, it is a great way of trading up. If you don't care about the card disadvantage, Burnout is an amazing final point of reach, especially if you're running with tokens. Rapid Shot is a brilliant combat trick, and Granite Acolyte is exactly what we want to play into our only Quartermaster weapon build that also fits in with the Smuggler's Stash. As it currently stands, I have removal. I don't have combat tricks. And I feel as though I'm going to regret not having any. It's also going to be harder for me to find this piece of reach, which I think is the reason why I'll take it. If I've seen the Rampage and the Rapid Shot this late, granted it's heading in pack 3, so this will be the end of it, but yeah, I feel as though I really want that for my build. That is an excellent, excellent pickup, as is that. So, I'm almost certain that this is a Steward of the Past pick. I feel as though it's a better card than Crowd Favourite. The only thing that would sway me is if we're not running dominant purple, but I think we are. I feel as though the green is going to be a splash. Crowd Favourite does tempt me in as much as we have the Shogun Scepter for him to get, which is a very, very good shootable target. But I just feel like the 3-5 Deadly is too good. Oh, more temptation. I'm not going dominant red-green, otherwise I would be tempted by him. He's a very, very good card. Unblockable is nice for getting in reach. Having a second stash is phenomenal. Combat Trick and Granite Acolyte. Basically all of this is gravy. The top end of my curve, I'll be happy to have a second stash, and that leaves me with 5 cards above 5. And a Smuggler's Stash is a card I want to see every single time I play this game, so I feel as though that's the go. Of course now it gives me a very tempting 5, but and nothing else. Am I likely to play the Ticking Granadon? If I get more Thorn Beast, then yes I am, and I do have the Burnout, which could be 8 points of damage. I just feel as though my curve's too high as it is, so I think that the pick is going to be the Granadon, even though that looks really ugly. I haven't had a chance to play with Song of War before, and so I'm sorely tempted to grab it just for that reason. I feel as though if I can get any more token generators, then this will be phenomenal. It is a card that defies the Cabs rule, which, if you don't listen to Limited Resources, is one of their pieces of jargon, which is basically cards that affect the board state. The idea being that everything you play you want to have an immediate impact, and this could be a woeful, woeful, woeful top deck. But there's only one way to find out, and I'm here to learn as much as you guys are, so let's give it a shot. I think we get rewarded immediately by finding a token generator. And now we have the choice between the Monument and the Destroyer. Monuments are really nice in as much as they fulfill the criterion of being good early and good late. Yeah, they're a small amount of tempo disadvantage, but if you're short on sigils, then you can play them and you keep developing your power. And if you're flooding, then later on they turn into whatever they turn into. That being said, I do feel as though the Granite Monument's probably one of the weaker ones. And yeah, the Xenon Destroyer, it's very, very good. Fits on curve for me. I feel as though it's highly unlikely I'll be unhappy with that. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Alrighty, let's actually take a look at what this build will look like. So, I'm not a massive fan of the Blood Beetle. I feel as though it's too conditional to get in. I love the drones, so we'll be playing them. I'll be playing all the Seek Powers I can get. So as it currently stands, we are a little short on cheap playables. We've got 1, 2, 3... 3.5, 4, 5. Stonescar Magus is amazing, and my 4s are really quite weak at the moment, so I feel as though I'll take the time to grab him. Not exactly on plan with what I'm trying to do, but still very, very good. He just makes life difficult for people, which is all that you could want. I'm surprised to see Icebreaker going that late. It's a good card. It deserves better than that. And I'm very surprised to see a Towering Terrorzon go that late. It's definitely not going to be a last pick for them. So, let's see what we can put together. Seek Powers are definitely going in. These are slightly more dubious, but I'll pull them in just so I can take a good look. I'm happy having some strong removal in an aggro deck. I feel as though that will really help me with tempoing effectively. The idea of drops and things that you have to deal with straight away. And then remove whatever blocker they play if it's too clunky. And what is it that I'd like to splash for, if at all? So my options... I could think about splashing for Feeding Time and Trickster's Cloak, Or alternatively, I could think about splashing for sword. And that's about it. I don't feel as though I have anything useful in time. So let's take a squiz at this. This is definite dominant red. I currently have Heavy Axe, which I don't really like. A Blood Beetle, which is only good if I get in early. Drones, which I'm happy with. Seek Power, removal. Temper. It's pretty ho-hum. Warhelm is a terrible top deck, but could be useful. I really don't know about the Warhelm. I think we'll put it on the short list to be taken off. Pyrodep's a pretty weak 2-drop. How many 2s do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can afford to drop 1. I'm a little bit worried about the lack of normal Warcry creatures I have. That normally helps me get damage through. Centaur Outrider is not worth the time. Cloud of Ash could be a finish, but so little card draw, I really don't want my hand to get clogged up with things that do nothing. I don't know why they put Steward the Past down the bottom there. It's a 4-drop. So my curve's looking a little bit clunky up here. You can kind of see how we're over-chocked on 1s. Ideally, I prefer to have a couple more 2s. I'd really, like on turn 4, like to be casting 2 2-drops. And I'm also regretting a little bit the fact that I never got any of those combat tricks. I assume that some will come through late, but I'm in trouble. So I'm purely going to be relying on the natural strength of these guys, which isn't a great spot to be in. I still need to make about another 7 guts. If that's the case, I can start to be a bit aggressive. I don't want too many of those. 6 5s are good. I think the blue splash isn't on. I like the idea of the sword because it's both removal plus a pump, and if I don't have any tricks, I want my creatures to be as big as possible. Three mana for a likely 3/3 is underwhelming. Let's quickly put my mana base together. So I'll be wanting 1 Justice Sigil to have something to access. Ordinarily, I like playing 17 lands on an aggressive deck like this, but I feel as though having 2 Seek Powers can afford me a little bit of wriggle room. I could be entirely wrong on this and totally embarrassed by it, especially as I am going up to 6 and I have a couple of 5s, yeah. That's beginning to make me totally reassess. So if that's the case, I'll play 17 like so. I don't have enough combat tricks to be playing hyper aggressive, so I feel as though I shouldn't pretend as though I am. And I should just trust the fact that I got a bit of a back end and trade out, trade up, and then play for inevitability with that kind of card draw that I'll get to. If that's the case and I'm on the back foot, it makes Song of War seem worse. Is there anything that I like less than it? That's all solid. Warcry looks worse when I'm thinking about playing defensively. feeling underwhelmed by the Daredevil, but all it will take is one piece of equipment and it can be phenomenal. So that's something I'm willing to take a risk on. I like the idea of the Warhelm giving charge to something for surprise damage. I feel as though that could be surprising. And, well, surprise damage being surprising, there you go. But I feel as though there could be a value to that. Although it's effectively 1 mana for a couple of stats and absolutely no change to the power and toughness. My curve isn't looking so much like a curve, it's looking more like a flat, which isn't encouraging. So perhaps the go is to shave down a little bit on this top end and to bring back something. A little bit lower down the curve. It's a choice between Blood Beetle and Ticking Granite, I think I need to take the Beetle by virtue of the fact that, actually no, the likelihood of it becoming a flyer is next to 0. I just need to accept the fact that I don't have flyers. I think we take the 3-drop in the middle. I'm not a massive fan of this. It feels a lot worse than the previous one. I'll be curious to go back through and watch the videos again about how I got stuck into this situation. The saving grace for it is the fact that we have Smuggler's Stashes. That's the card that is going to keep us potentially in the game. But beyond that, I'm really missing my pump spells, which I feel as though we need for this archetype, and I think it'll be interesting to see just how much harder these games will be because of it. Anyway, we'll finish up there, and I'll get ready to see how this particular build of Stonescar aggro will go. See you in a bit.